sports world. As y'all can see, I have my Alabama beanie on, and we're going to get straight into the college football playoff games. Both of them, shall we? Alabama loses a heartbreaker to Michigan in overtime, 27-20 in the college football playoff semifinal, the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Michigan advances to the championship game in Houston, where they will be playing Washington, which we will be talking about that game after this game. Jaylen Milaro, 16 of 23, 116 yards. Didn't throw a single touchdown, one fumble loss, which we will be talking about a little bit later. Jace McClellan, 14 carries, 87 yards, had 2 TDs. Justice Haynes, the true freshman, ended up coming in the game later down the line with 4 carries for 31 yards, really brought in some energy for the Alabama offense. Isaiah Bond was their leading receiver with 4 receptions for 47 yards, followed by Jermaine Burton with 4 receptions for 21 yards, especially one of the receptions in overtime. And yeah, Jaylen Milaro also had 21 carries for 63 yards. He was running the ball a lot. But Michigan was stopping that, and we're going to talk about that. J.J. McCarthy had a better game than Jaylen Milaro, 17 of 27 for 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries for 25 yards, especially one big-time run later in the game for a first down. Blake Corum also had a pretty good game, 19 carries, 83 yards, 2 total TDs, 1 on the ground and 1 receiving the ball. Leading receiver was Roman Wilson with 4 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Morris also had 2 receptions for 45 yards and 1 TD. The Michigan defense also had 6 total sacks, and they had 5 sacks in the first half, which is the most sacks allowed under the Nick Saban era at Alabama. We're going to talk about this game. For the casual people that aren't rooting for either one of these teams, just want to look at some good football, Alabama and Michigan was the right game to watch. A tale of literally two halves. The first half, it was just straight dominance by Michigan. Alabama was getting punched in the mouth the whole entire first half. Second half, they made adjustments, and they had all the momentum going in the fourth quarter. All of the momentum. Michigan fumbling the ball early in the game off of a muff punt, causing Alabama to get Jace McClellan involved to get a touchdown to strike first blood, making it 7-0. And then you had Alabama fumbling the ball in the fourth quarter when they had all the momentum. They just scored a touchdown and stopped Michigan. Jaylen Milaro ended up fumbling the ball, causing Michigan to kick a field goal, which they ended up missing, and that really could have struck some damage to Alabama. And turns out it did, because they had all of the momentum. You score the ball after getting punched in the mouth the whole entire first half. The offensive line really sold Alabama. The offensive line was sucking the whole entire game, but the first half, you just can't allow 5 sacks. You can't allow 5 sacks and kill drives. And that's what they were doing. The Michigan defense was playing very good coverage down the field, and Alabama, with them allowing 5 sacks, that was one of the problems. And number 2 is bad play calling. You can't, if your offensive linemen cannot block these big defensive linemen, big nose tackles that Michigan have, you don't have time to run deep crossers, all these long crossing patterns, these long developing plays, and expect to have good success. Jaylen Milroe's not going to have time for that. And you saw it time and time again. They were running these long developing plays, and Jaylen Milaro was getting sacked because he didn't have no pressure. Jaylen Milaro played okay. Did he play better than J.J. McCarthy? No, he didn't play better than J.J. McCarthy. But that offensive line killed drives. They killed drives, especially after Alabama scored a field goal, and then they get the ball back in the third quarter, and they're driving down the field. And I want y'all to look at this. I really want y'all to look at this. So it's 2nd down and 2. Before this play, Justice Haynes, like I said, ran the ball for a first down. True freshman brought a burst to the Alabama offense, and then it's 2nd down and 2, And Jace McClellan, here it goes, runs, second down and 2, gets a first down. So you see all the momentum, and this is after Alabama kicked a field goal to make it 10-13 going into halftime. They really wanted to get a touchdown that drive, but it was a good drive. It was one of the best drives that they had the entire game, and Will Riker kicks a field goal to make it 10-13. So now they have all the momentum going into the third quarter. So then after that, they start driving. They start running the ball, and like you saw, Jace McClellan ran for a first down. So now it's first down and 10. First down and 10. We're on Michigan's 48-yard line. 48-yard line. And I want y'all to just look. Milroe's not even looking at the ball. Why is the ball getting snapped? First down and 10. So now you're on Alabama's territory. Now you're back at your own territory. And now you see all of the miscommunication, and he's getting mad. He's getting frustrated. And it's back-to-back low snaps. Back-to-back low snaps, and Jaylen Milaro couldn't corral the ball. Now, does some of it go on Jaylen Milaro? A little bit, but most of it goes on that offensive line, and that was a drive killer. Who knows what could have happened? They were driving. They had all the momentum, driving all the way down the field. Who knows? They could have got a field goal by Will Riker because he was automatic. He was keeping them in the game. The punter was keeping them in the game by field position. That's how it was in the second half, because that Alabama defense was killing. Alabama defense was cooking in the second half. They weren't playing that well in the first half, but they made adjustments in the second half. And besides that last drive to make it go into overtime, they were playing good. They were playing good. But the first half, Michigan was running all of these crossing patterns and all of these routes to cause miscommunication between the Alabama defense and the Alabama secondary. And that's just straight coaching right there. That's straight coaching right there. Second half, they picked it up. They adjusted to what Michigan was doing, and they stopped them all the way until the end. All the way until the end. That last drive by J.J. McCarthy, that was a great drive. That was a gutsy fourth down play. And for Harbaugh to have confidence in his offense with 3 timeouts. They had 3 timeouts, so they easily could have punted the ball and stopped them because they were stopping them pretty much the whole game. But he decided to roll the dice, and he made J.J. McCarthy go get a first down, passing it to Blake Corum out the backfield, and they got a first down. And then after that, they ended up scoring the touchdown. But other than that, in the second half, Alabama was playing really, really good defense. And I want y'all to see this play. This is what I was talking about in regards to momentum. So we stop them in the third quarter. That was their last drive in the third quarter, and Alabama gets the ball back, and you see that they're driving down the field. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter. Second down and 15, power play by Jaylen Milaro to get all the way down to the goal line. The next play after that, they give the ball to Jace McClellan, and he obviously takes it in. So now they have all the momentum in the quarter. They're up 17-13, and after that, they stopped Michigan. Then they get the ball back. I want y'all to look at this. Let me get it on the screen for y'all. So here it goes right here. If you're Jaylen Milaro, you cannot have the ball facing the defender. That's an easy strip. That's an easy play for the defender. And that was a good play by the Michigan defender to cause Jaylen Milaro to fumble that ball. If you stop him and you put it in your left arm and you slide or just give yourself up, you have a next play. You have another play to live. You get what I'm saying? You have another play to live. Who knows what could happen? It was first down and 10. You still got 3 more plays to get a first down. You could have got a field goal that drive. But luckily, Alabama's defense, they stopped Michigan, caused them to attempt the field goal, and they ended up missing it. Then Alabama didn't. They kicked a field goal to make it 20-13. But imagine on that drive if they would have scored a touchdown. If they would have scored a touchdown instead of getting sacked, and that was their only sack. Keep in mind, Michigan had 5 sacks in the first half. They finished off with 6 total sacks. They only had 1 sack the entire second half, but that sack came critical because if Alabama kicks that field goal, they make it 20-13. They make it a 1-possession game. Versus if they score a touchdown, they make it 24-13 with around 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Now, that's still a lot of time because Michigan still had 3 timeouts. Keep that in mind. But you have more comfortable lead 2-possession game instead of a 1-possession game, and they can just drive all the way down the field, and now time isn't on Alabama side. Because who knows if they would have scored a touchdown later, who knows, they could have possibly ended it then. They could have scored 2, and they could have ended it right then and there. Who knows? But Michigan was straight dominant. Their defense was dominant. Alabama made adjustments. And we're going to go straight into the overtime call by Alabama. It's a 4th down and 4. 4th down and goal from the 4-yard line. Everybody on the Michigan defense knows that the ball is going to Jaylen Milaro. Everybody knows this. And I want y'all to just look at this. You see pre-snap. Everybody is loading the box. Michigan called like 20 timeouts. Alabama called like 20 timeouts. And this is the play that you come up with everybody loading the box. With everybody loading the box, that's the play you come up with, Bill O'Brien. That's the play you come up with. A predictable call. Everybody on Michigan's defense, they knew that Milroe was getting the ball on 4th down and goal. They knew that the wide receivers weren't getting the ball. They knew that the running back wasn't going to get the ball. They should have at least gave it to the running back, but you can't run up the middle against Michigan. They got too many people on that nose tackle. Too many people with big meat, paws, on the nose tackle. And they were getting destroyed the entire game. In between the gaps, they were getting destroyed the whole entire game. But if you run on the outside like they were doing in the second half, you were having more to gain. You were having more to gain. Versus if you're just running up the middle. There were a couple times where they were able to run up the middle, but most of the time they couldn't. And that was so predictable. You could have at least did a pass play. You could have at least ran it a little bit to the outside. But on 4th down and 4, after calling 30 timeouts, that's the play you come up with. And Nick Saban said that there were 3 different plays for all of the timeouts. I don't know I just can't believe that. I felt like they were going to give the ball to Jaylen Milaro, and they were going to let Jaylen Milaro try and make the play. If you're going to make Jaylen Milaro make the play, just don't have him just run up the middle where the offensive line was getting beat the entire game. You can't have that happen. That play wasn't going to work from the jump. And shout out to Michigan for scoring in 2 plays. Blake Corum going all the way down the field. Both runs were good runs for first downs. Great runs for first downs. Running hard, and they ended up scoring a touchdown. J McCarthy, great drive. Great fourth quarter drive. Alabama got outcoached. Alabama got flat out outcoached by Michigan. They did. Even though Alabama made adjustments in the second half, overall, Michigan outcoached them. The players played better. The quarterback play was better. The running game was better. And Michigan came out with the W. Michigan flat out came out with the W. And Alabama, with this team, it being a rebuilding year, This wasn't Alabama's best team. This wasn't Nick Saban's best team. The fact that they even made it this far and they made this game a good game. Usually in the college football playoffs, you have some games, you have one semifinal game where it's flat out good. Except for last year, obviously, with Michigan and TCU and Georgia and Ohio State. Both of those games were very good. But the ones in the past, Notre Dame versus Alabama, Cincinnati versus Alabama, Michigan State versus Alabama, you'll have a game where it's just flat out trash. Flat out trash. So for both of these games to be good for a casual person that just want to look at football, this was very good picking by the committee. If Florida State was in here without their starting quarterback, they would have got blitzed. They would have got blitzed. Probably 28-0, 30-7. You know, it would not have been a good matchup. It would not have been a good matchup. But the fact that they put the 4 best teams in the playoffs and both of these games were good. Both of these games were good. We knew with the Michigan and Alabama game, it wasn't going to be a shootout type of game, but Alabama wasn't going to get blitzed and Michigan wasn't going to be blitzed. They were both going to put up some points. It was going to be some sort of Smashmouth football, and whoever had the ball last was going to win the football game. That's what I personally thought. Whoever had the ball last was going to win a football game. But the play call by Alabama in overtime was a bad play call. Michigan flat out outcoached them. Harbaugh outcoached Saban. The play calling was bad. If you're Alabama, you can just look at this season and is the era over? No, I don't think the era's over in Nick Saban coaching Alabama and winning championships. I don't think that it's over. But you got to get some game changers on your team. Milaro is a game changer. I've always said that about Milaro. He's a game changer. The moment Milaro can read coverages and read pre-snap, he will be dominant. Usually with your athletes, your quarterback that are athletes, your Jaylen Milaro, your Lamar Jacksons, your Jalen Hurts, when they first come into college, they're not good at reading coverages. But once they learn how to read coverages, learn how to read pre-snap motion, read pre-snap defense, once they learn that, and get to their options instead of staring one receiver down, and if that receiver isn't open, they're going to run and take off, they're dominant. You see it with Lamar Jackson at Baltimore. You see it with Hurts if you compare what Hurts is looking like right now in Philadelphia versus what he was looking like at Alabama. He would stare down Calvin Ridley, and if he wasn't open, he's running the football. So it's the same with Jaylen Milaro. All Jaylen Milaro can do is look at this game. You could tell that he had heart in this game. You could tell that he had heart. But he got to learn how to read coverages. He got to learn how to read pre-snap. A person like Bryce Young would have killed this team. A person like Tua would have killed this team because they know how to read coverages and they know how to read pre-snap. Not saying that Michigan didn't play good defense at all, but I feel as though Bryce Young and Tua would have already dissected what was going on before the play was even snapped. It seemed as though they didn't. Bryce Young was pretty much playing with the same offensive line. And it kind of sucks that Jaylen Milaro is kind of working with this offensive line and how bad they have been, and they have been bad pretty much the whole season. This isn't the first time where the center has been not good in games. The game against Auburn, he wasn't good. And if it wasn't for Jaylen Milaro coming in clutch, Alabama wouldn't even be in this position. But he's got to read the coverages. And the play calling's got to be better. You can't run long, progressing plays against a team if they can rush the passer. If Jaylen Milaro doesn't have time, why are we running deep crossers down the field? Where's your in routes? Where are your out routes? Where are your slant routes? Where are your drag routes? Where are your intermediate routes? You're not going to have time to run a deep ball, a deep play. Michigan was locking that up. And that front four was getting home. And when they sent pressure, they got to Jaylen Milaro every single time. That offensive line couldn't do nothing in the first half against Michigan. And that's all credit to Michigan. That's all credit to the defensive coordinator. That's all credit to them. That's all credit to them. But if you look next year, I feel as though if they can get the right recruits, if they can get that O-line correct, Alabama's going to always be in it. Next year is a 12-team playoff race instead of a 14 playoff race. All you got to do if you're Alabama is don't lose more than 2 games. If you lose more than 2 games, it's going to be hard for you to get into the top 12, the college football playoffs. It's not a you lose 1 game and you're out. Now it's a 2 game. That's the luxury of the college football playoffs, and that's the luxury of playing in the SEC. You have to have at least 2 losses, not more. If you have more than 2 losses, then you're going to be out. So 2 losses max. But is the era over in Nick Saban? No, the era is never going to be over as long as Nick Saban is the coach. As long as Nick Saban is the coach at Alabama, he can get the recruits. He may not have as much money. He has a Texas A&M, and all these other schools. But he can get the recruits because of the history. Just the history of Alabama, the history of the SEC and winning national championships. People are going to want to play for Nick Saban. People thought after Texas and after USF, should I say, that Alabama and Nick Saban's team wasn't even going to make it this far. And they proved everybody wrong. They got better in the season. So this one loss just doesn't define, is the Nick Saban year over? The Nick Saban era's over. He hasn't won 3 years without winning a national championship. He will never win a national championship. Like, nah. This is a rebuilding year. Everybody said that this was a rebuilding year for Alabama. And to make it as one of the best 4 teams, make it to the college football playoffs, and play against the best team in the committee's eyes in the nation, and put up a fight after as bad as it looked in the first half, only down by 3 points, getting punched in the mouth, allowing sacks left and right, for the offensive line to get a little bit better in the second half and have all the momentum. Had it not been a fumble by Jaylen Milaro, they could have easily won this game. They had all the momentum. The defense was playing pretty good in the second half. And if it wasn't for J.J. McCarthy and the Michigan team driving all the way down the field, we will be having a conversation of, is Nick Saban done it again? Is Nick Saban at the top of the college football world? Instead of now, since he's lost by 7 points on the last play of overtime, Nick Saban is not that guy no more. It's the end of the Alabama era, the Nick Saban era. With the college football playoffs being a 12-team race, all Alabama has to do is not lose more than 2 games. And I'm fully confident that Alabama will be back. Just like with Michigan. Michigan will for sure be back. Both of these teams were good. Both of these teams have bright futures ahead. It's just this was Michigan's day. After losing so many times, never beating an SEC team in the college football playoffs, they wanted to prove a point. They wanted to make a statement win. And Coach Harbaugh wanted to prove to everybody that he can win in the college football playoffs. And sure enough, he's going to be competing for a college football championship. And this is going to be Michigan's, if they win, their first time winning one since 1948. Going to be their first time. So shout out to Michigan. This was a great win by Michigan. Very good win by Michigan. Very good game by J.J. McCarthy. Very good game by the defensive line. Alabama, you had it. You had it at the end. You had it at the end. You had all the momentum. It felt as though that the Rose Bowl was going to come right to you. And Michigan stripped that from you. It was literally in your fingertips, Alabama. It was in our fingertips. But Michigan stripped that from you. That's exactly what Michigan did to pull out the W. So, great game. GG's to Michigan. And hopefully you can finish it out.